Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Revolutionizing Manufacturing, brought to you by Smart Industry and featuring Industry 4.0 enthusiast and thought leader Jeff Winter. I'm your co-host, Scott Achelpohl, managing editor of Smart Industry. For this installment, Jeff and I are featuring an interesting two-part chat, the art of the possible in digital transformation to go along with the art of the practical. To introduce these two companion topics, I'm going to turn our chat over to Jeff. So Jeff, please take it away. And as a reminder, we'll follow our discussion today with what has become our usual Q&A time, answering questions from our audience. Take it away, Jeff.
Sure. So there's a couple months ago, I did a post on LinkedIn on this very topic because I kept seeing the same thing over and over again. Companies are they're limiting their visions, and it's simply because they're unfamiliar with what's possible. So this idea of the art of the possible, it acknowledges that while our aspirations can and should be universal, sometimes the path to achieving them can be highly personalized. And this is where the art of the practical comes in. And this approach isn't about limiting our ambitions, because if you dream, you should be dreaming big, right? The art of the possible, that's what dreaming big is all about. But in this case, for art of the practical, it's about understanding and embracing our unique corporate landscapes, our unique industries that we're in, everything from company size to industry to culture and even specific company objectives. So that's why for today, we're going to dive into the art of the possible, and we're going to touch on the art of the practical, which is going to be more on a future podcast that we're going to have. So once again, I like to remind, for the art of the possible, this is about where we dream big. We think about how Industry 4.0 can push boundaries and visualize what excellence looks like when we take full advantage of disruptive technologies collectively to transform the way that we work, the way that we provide value, the way that we capture value, and even how we live. So it's not about daydreaming for the sake of it. It's about setting a high bar, about being inspired by what's achievable in this era of rapid change and what you could accomplish if you weren't held back by old systems or limited thinking. So let's jump in and see how far we can stretch our imaginations.
Great points, Jeff. At the core of every goal in your personal life and business is being happy with choices, about having the right goal and being satisfied once those are reached. From a manufacturer's perspective, take as an example predictive maintenance, which gathers a ton of data, but is all that data useful and sortable? Set a goal and tailor your data gathering methods to make sure that your system returns the correct ROI. ROI, very important. That's a simple goal, but it's an example of a focused vision means a useful outcome. Imagining your world where the technological advance of PM is used to its fullest. Jeff, tell us more about boundary pushing and redefining what's achievable and being inspired by, as you said in your post, the transformative potential of the current Industry 4.0 era.
So when we talk about the art of the possible, we're not just focused on simple upgrades or tweaks to current systems. We're looking at what could be accomplished if we truly embraced everything that today's technologies have to offer. It's about envisioning just not modernizing your systems, but total transformation. So imagine leveraging Industry 4.0 tools and technologies in ways that redefine entire processes, from integrated systems that deliver actionable insights right when they're needed to predictive analytics that move us away from reactive to kind of preemptive decision making across all aspects of the business. And once again, the goal here is to think big. Don't limit your vision. So a powerful tool for guiding companies on this journey is something called the Smart Industry Readiness Index, or SIRI for short. In this SIRI, it's an assessment tool that evaluates an organization's Industry 4.0 maturity across 16 different dimensions. And they're each rated on a scale of 0 all the way up to 5, where this 5 represents the art of the possible, basically achieving the absolute cutting edge with today's technologies. Now, so you're aware, right now the global average kind of hovers around 1.5, which speaks volumes in and of itself because we're very early on this Industry 4.0 journey. But do companies even understand what is possible? So from my personal experience working with companies, many don't aim for a 5 simply because they're unfamiliar with what a 5 looks like, which results in unintentionally capping their own vision and potentially even their own progress. So we want to help businesses dream bigger, to understand what a 5 looks like, rather than being constrained by what's familiar to them. And that's where the World Economic Forum Lighthouse Network comes in. And this network, it spotlights the top 172 manufacturing lighthouses, at least as of October this year. And they are meant to be the shining examples of digital transformation. These lighthouses, they represent the best of the best of the best, the companies that are living examples of digital success and pushing these boundaries to achieve real measurable results. And I kind of see them somewhere between the art of the possible, the theoretical ability to do anything with today's technology, and the art of the practical, because they're not unattainable dreams. They're not just theoretical possibilities. These 172 lighthouses are using real use cases, proving what can be done with a bold vision and then where it meets practical implementation. So they are real, but I have to admit, they're still the rare exception. They're not the norm. Now, it's important to remember here that a 5 on the series scale across all dimensions, it's not realistic, or it's not even necessary, nor should it be the goal for organizations. There is no lighthouse that's 5s across the board. In fact, I don't even think there's any lighthouse out there that even has 5s in half of the dimensions. So the art of the practical here means focusing on what's right for your company, not chasing perfection in every area just for the sake of it. True transformation isn't about maxing out a checklist, but aligning digital initiatives with your unique business objectives and situation. So the art of the practical is all about prioritizing based on purpose, by taking stock of your current capabilities, defining a clear vision of where transformation will make tangible differences for your company, and things that you can implement, that you can change, and that can deliver measurable ROI. It's not about striving to be the lighthouse just to be a lighthouse. It's about setting realistic goals, achieving them with intention, and continuously evolving in ways that make sense for your business.
Jeff, we talked before the program about how best to frame the art of the possible and the art of the practical. We got it down to basics by asking ourselves 2 questions. Tee these up for us like a 3 would on the back 9 at Pebble Beach, will you?
Sure. So to answer the question, what does good look like? It's essential to recognize that there isn't a one-size-fits-all answer for Industry 4.0. Every organization's journey and goals are unique, and there is no single model for good that applies universally. Now, these lighthouses that I just spoke about, they've implemented over 700 proven use cases, and each are tailored to specific needs and challenges and goals. And around 200 of these use cases actually involve AI, and they span across 17 major KPI categories with countless subcategories. Now, what's fascinating is that very few of these lighthouses have applied the same use case with the identical KPIs, even though they're all achieving high levels of digital success. And this diversity reinforces the fact that good in Industry 4.0 isn't about replicating someone else's playbook. Every industry, every company, even every facility may have a different approach. So instead of trying to copy and paste other companies, we need to focus on, once again, our unique business objectives, our operating environments, and even our competitive landscape. Good should be defined by the impacts that digital transformation will have for your company, whether it's improving efficiency, enhancing customer experience, reducing downtime, creating new revenue streams. It doesn't matter. Ultimately, this journey to good is about identifying the right use cases and the KPIs that align to your company's vision and continually adopting as your needs evolve. Because as you do more of these projects, you learn more. And as you learn more, it may change your priorities. It's about crafting a roadmap that reflects both the art of the possible and then brings it down to the art of the practical, balancing these bold aspirations with achievable, measurable steps forward. And your second question, what is holding companies back? Well, what's holding companies back from Industry 4.0 isn't the technology. It's often a mindset issue. Many companies focus on small incremental improvements rather than transformative changes. While they have these like siloed structures and skill gaps that prevent seamless integration across functions. And so there's, because of that, a hesitation to take on these perceived risk of large scale digital transformations, especially when ROI can be hard to measure upfront, because after all, if you're completely changing the company, it's hard to determine what an ROI might be. So to move forward, companies need a clear vision. They need alignment across departments and a willingness to invest in new skills and a way of looking forward. So here's my advice for helping with the art of the possible. I have two things. So first, what specifically can technology do? What is it capable of? You need to understand it. This includes attending tech conferences and following technology articles and staying current on major advances. Right now, is just examples. Agentic AI and knowledge graphs are two hot examples right now. So if you consider agentic AI, which refers to AI systems that are capable of kind of autonomous action to achieve goals without direct human intervention, the theoretical capability, the art of the possible here is that AI can autonomously manage basically any part of your business, potentially making real-time decisions to optimize efficiency and reduce cost. However, bringing that down to the art of the practical involves starting with something smaller, like just AI assisted analytics to just identify bottlenecks in anything from like your supply chain as an example, and then gradually implementing automated decision making. And similarly with knowledge graphs, which they enable a representation of complex relationships within your data, just allowing you to be more intuitive in your data retrieval and your analysis. The art of the possible here might be a system that understands and predicts customer behavior across all touch points. But practically, this could start with integrating disparate data sources to build just a unified view of customer interactions. So when you learn about these technologies, the goal here is to learn what's possible so you can see a vision of the future and where things are going, and then how it could potentially apply to your company one day in that form. And the second thing I'll say here is cultivate a culture of big thinking by implementing structured frameworks. So adopt practices like moonshot thinking, which encourages aiming for solutions that are 10 times better rather than just marginally improved. And this involves setting audacious goals and exploring radical innovations without immediate concern for feasibility. So you can implement the 3 horizons framework as another example to balance short-term performance with long-term innovative thinking, and the categorizing your initiatives into just different core improvements, into emerging opportunities, and just totally game-changing future possibilities. You could, some companies establish innovation labs where team can experiment with technologies such as, these knowledge graphs as an example, in a controlled environment. And leadership then needs to model this mindset by sharing their visions and embracing these unconventional, innovative ideas and setting a tone that encourages companies and the employees to think big. So all of these then should be inputs to your company's business strategy, where they're reference points to help make sure your decisions are based on the right vision of what is happening, and then integrate them into kind of what you're doing. And we'll cover that more on the next podcast for The Art of the Practical.
Great, Jeff. Great answers. Now, this is a part of the program that I really like. It's our Q&A. And let me remind our audience that you're always invited to give us questions to answer here. By the way, they can be posted to our social media channels or sent to Jeff and Scott at smartindustry.com. Here's the first one from Mitchell Graham, who asks, where do you anticipate AI will progress in the next 5 years?
I have no idea. That's kind of like asking us in 2019 to predict today's world before ChatGPT kind of burst into the scene. We didn't even know what we didn't know. But that being said, if I had to just take a total guess on where I think I see things going, I would have to say agentic AI or AI agents really taking center stage in years to come, basically transforming everything from just the way that industries work, the way that roles work, the way that departments work, the way that people work, everything, because it's going to empower people in the way decisions are going to be made. AI is going to be taking a bigger role in autonomous decision making. And that will just completely change processes, streamlining operations, and it will even just create new opportunities that we haven't even dreamed up of yet. So I'm just explaining how it will work, but what its impact will be in 5 years, that's hard to guess.
Anybody's guess, huh? Sajeev Kote asks, give us some case studies of sustainable manufacturing companies who have reached the top and some best practices for ESG.
So this will be a short one because it's easy. Best place is that World Economic Forum Lighthouse Network. They recently started tracking sustainable lighthouses as part of their cohorts. So this last batch that came out in October, where they have 172 total, I mentioned, I believe 3 of the 22 of this cohort were sustainability lighthouses, and 20 of the total 172 are sustainability lighthouses. So all 20 are public examples. You can see what they did and the results that they achieved. So I would encourage you to check those out.
Okay, Jeff. Justin Brennan asks, what areas of Industry 4.0, if any, should smaller companies avoid engaging in to ensure the highest ROI and minimal scope creep on their journey?
That's a tough one to answer. So smaller companies diving into Industry 4.0 should be strategic about where they invest to avoid spreading themselves too thin. I mean, after all, Industry 4.0 is an absolutely massive space. So instead of jumping into potentially high cost, high complex areas, and maybe even majorly transformative areas, anything from like full-scale automation or AI-driven predictive maintenance, which could require a heavy IT and data infrastructure. Start with focusing on smaller, targeted wins, anything from just basic IoT for real-time monitoring, or even just cloud-based analytics to boost efficiency. Keeping the scope manageable and focused to quick, tangible ROI to help build momentum within the company, so you don't get bogged down by the more complex, costly projects that could cause scope creep, and ones that typically larger companies have the ability to take those on financially and a resource, from a resource side. So I would bet that most companies use a fraction of their current capabilities of the software vendors they provide. You want a quick area to start? That's an area. Just start looking at where you can take advantage of the latest features that are built into some of the software that you're already using. Are you taking advantage of them? And I would also say, on another note, I actually helped co-author a almost 60-page paper with 6 other people through Mesa, actually called a low-risk incremental approach to smart manufacturing for small and medium-sized manufacturers. And it's on my website, and I'll include it with this podcast. I encourage you to check it out because it gives you a whole process for how to do this, especially if you're a small company.
Okay, cool, Jeff. Manish Bilwinder asks, I am interested in understanding the changes in the quality function in Industry 4.0. What will remain and what will be obsolete?
So good question. I would say keeping the 4.0 nomenclature alive. This is what I like to call, and others like to call, quality 4.0. And if you think about the shift to quality 4.0 that's happening in the era of Industry 4.0, some aspects of traditional quality management will remain essential, while others will just become obsolete. So core principles like continuous improvement and data-driven decision-making and just process optimization, they're absolutely going to stay relevant, but they'll be enhanced by digital tools and advanced analytics. What's becoming more obsolete are the way that some of the processes are done. Anything especially related to manual or paper-based inspections, any static quality control methods, these will be replaced with real-time data monitoring through IoT sensors and AI-driven predictive analytics, and even connected worker platforms that enable faster and more accurate quality assurance. So instead of just basing off time intervals, you can have the systems tell you when you should be doing this. So human roles in quality as a result of that are also going to be evolving. So instead of focusing on routine inspections, quality professionals will take on more strategic responsibilities. They'll be even helping with guiding the design and optimization of digital quality systems to ensure agility and resilience as things change. And especially as we become in an era of more mass customization and personalization, the quality systems need to adapt to that.
Okay, Jeff. Last but not least, a two-parter from one of our contributors here at Smart Industry, MaintainX co-founder Nick Haas, who asked a bit ago. The first part of his question was: in manufacturing, data is collected from various sources, including sensors, machinery, and ERP systems. How can manufacturers manage the challenge of needing large volumes of data while also ensuring that this data is high quality and reliable for AI applications? Here we are talking about AI again, such as predictive maintenance or quality control.
So it's a great question. We actually had a whole episode here already on just data, and it happens to be one of the most popular things I write about and talk about. Manufacturers are swimming in data from all over the place. And there's a whole bunch of studies that show they have more data than they know what to do with. Everything that's created from sensors to machines, ERP systems, you name it. But not all this data is created equal. And if you feed junk into AI, you're going to get junk predictions in return. Kind of the phrase garbage in, garbage out, just at a much more massive scale. Now, to tackle this at a very high level, manufacturers should focus on data cleaning as much as data collecting. Because once again, you already have more data than you're already using statistically. So you need to start with standardized data formats, routine validation checks, and processes to just filter out all the noise and data that you're not going to be using at this particular time. That way, when your AI algorithms dive into this data, whether it is for analyzing it or creating predictions, they're working with reliable information, which means better predictions and fewer oops moments, especially when it comes to maintenance or quality control. So that's a high level answer to get you started.
Jeff, here's the second part from Nick. As AI becomes more integrated into manufacturing, worker privacy and data ownership concerns are increasing. How should companies think about ethics, if at all, related to data collection in a way that respects workers' rights and maintains transparency?
Oh, another tough question. And when it comes to AI and even just worker data, companies need to tread carefully because the big brother vibes are not the goal. No one wants that, neither side. And the key here is transparency and respect. I mean, workers should know that data is being collected. They need to know why it's being collected and how it's being used. And privacy matters as a part of this. You need to set up policies that anonymize personal data whenever possible and make sure data collection is about improving processes, not necessarily tracking individuals. That's a big difference. So think of it this way. If your data practices feel like something that you'd explain to your team, over a cup of coffee without having any awkward pauses, you're probably on the right track. If you feel very bad about having to explain your policies, you're probably not on the right track, because here you need to build trust, especially in a data-driven era. And the thing with ethics that makes this so complicated is we're now having new ethics questions come up all the time that we never even conceived of several years ago because it just wasn't really possible or plausible. So you need to be able to migrate a transforming ethical landscape as not only new questions are coming up that no one has answers for, but our minds might change as a society or as individuals or as companies as we learn more or are in that situation, go, ooh, that doesn't bother me, or ooh, I really don't like that. So start with being transparent.
Great answers, everything, Jeff. Thank you again. That's all the time we'd set aside for today's episode. I'm Scott Achelpohl of Smart Industry.
And I'm Jeff Winter, and this has been Revolutionizing Manufacturing.
Just a reminder for everyone watching us that our social channels are open for questions we can answer during future episodes, and that they also can be sent to Jeff and Scott at smartindustry.com. Everyone have a pleasant day. So long from Smart Industry, and we'll chat again soon.